You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. We expect all forms of self-help to be good for you. Today, we're going to explain how most forms of self-improvement can or might be bad for you. We will talk about a natural way to make yourself better in a way that is always satisfying and beneficial to you, and how to treat yourself like an ecosystem you are, or the ecosystem that you are, versus programming techniques that treat you like a machine. Stay tuned. We're married intuitives with over 25 years of experience who created the Ecosystem Approach. This is a groundbreaking way to see yourself in the age of Aquarius. We help you unleash healing and potential that is unknown today and is totally unique to you personally. If this is not your type of, this is not your typical type of energy work, we help you with life-changing internal discovery that is powerful, rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, that was a pretty bold statement of saying that self-help is bad for you. And my question is, why?
Because it's framed and implemented in ways that are contrary to the way humans are designed. So let me explain that.
Okay.
We're designed to be an ecosystem, first of all.
Okay.
And that ecosystem includes an energy field. And the primary one is your soul. We call it essence.
Yes.
The poets have referred to the soul for years, for thousands of years.
Exactly.
And the musicians, without soul, you wouldn't have as many lyrics as you do now.
That's correct.
But no one really
Be
understands,
them good or bad.
Yes. No one really understands how they can be beneficial, how the soul is actually running the
shows.
It's
so
supposed to run the show.
Correct.
Programming just gets in the way of that and says, no, I'm not going to let your soul run you, which is the way we're designed.
Correct.
It says, hey, we're going to do it this way.
In a programmed way.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me give some examples.
Okay.
And I'm giving these examples because I spent years working with these things myself, and we're going to talk about that in the third segment. But neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, positive mental attitude. Benjamin Franklin had these virtues that he said if you focused on one virtue every month for 12 months, and then you start all over again, you had 12 virtues, you would become a better and better person.
Okay.
The idea was to kind of force yourself, focus on a certain thing.
Okay.
Science denies the existence of the soul because it's intangible and you can't measure it, but it can only be accessed through intuition.
Yes.
So as we call ourselves intuitives, we have complete access to knowing how our soul works.
Yes.
And frankly, everybody out there today has access to knowing how their soul works if it wasn't for the blocks
of programming.
Yes. Because programming trains you to look outside of yourself for the answers as opposed to inside, which is where inside, outside, that's where your soul lives, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. And where you connect with your soul.
Exactly. Okay. So, and it was never considered a legitimate human ability. We said we have 5 senses. To us, we have 6 senses. That 6th sense, which is your intuition.
Correct.
And part of using the ecosystem approach is your intuition naturally develops.
Yes.
It's not something you focus on. It's something that just comes as a result. And
correct.
And we've talked about that in other shows. But here's the thing that happens. And let's talk about habits, because There's Benjamin Franklin virtues, which is just building good habits.
Okay.
We've heard this book about atomic habits, which he says in the intro that, hey, you can. This is evidence-based. In other words, science has proven that this is true,
Okay.
and I have no doubt that that's the case. You can measure, you can treat someone like NLP. You can work with someone a certain way and prove within that they can be more effective after a period of time.
Okay.
The question is, should you work that way?
Okay.
If science doesn't know that you're not designed that way because it doesn't access intuition, doesn't
Or
acknowledge the soul.
or the human aspect of all of it.
Yes, this part of human being that is intangible. They say that at the moment of death, your chemistry is exactly the same as when you were alive.
Okay.
And there's what's the difference? Well, we know
Yes.
that difference is your essence leaves your body,
Correct.
and that's what powers everything. That's the prime directive. That's
That's the basis of who you are.
exactly.
And I'm going to jump in, and I'm probably going to, mess the whole section up. But when we don't connect with the power of who we are, there is so much lost. There is so much blocked. There is so much that gets in the way of not only who you are, but for you to understand who you are.
Well, and that's what we're talking about today. And right
Yes.
now we're going to talk more about that in this next segment.
Okay.
Right now we're going to talk about, okay, so if you try and develop these good habits, what happens? Well, it becomes a compulsion. We see a compulsion as negative energy. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you've heard that we take care of my mom who's got dementia. All that's left, she functions fairly well, but all that's left are her compulsions. She can't think that she should do this or do that. All she does is what's based on compulsions that she's had for a long time.
Correct.
And there's no way to say, okay, this is good or this is bad.
Right.
Compulsions or habits taken to the extreme can be very, very negative. Let me give we were talking about this.
Okay, we were earlier.
Let's say you had developed a habit of being on time.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yes.
And I can see as it becomes a compulsion, you can be very abusive with other people to make sure that you're on time.
Right.
Running people over, going 80 miles an hour down the highway
Yes.
when the speed limit is 60 or whatever.
Okay. Or 25.
Almost killing that little lady that was trying to cross the street, that
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
Compulsions are things that you do without really conscious thought.
Correct.
And when you lose that conscious thought, you lose your free will.
Yes.
And most programming, they program, if you accept this program, if you program yourself, even if you choose the program,
Yeah.
it can become a compulsion, and then you lose your free will.
And when you lose your free will, you lose your connection to your essence.
We see that when you have your essence working properly, you can say to yourself, what's the best way for me to behave in this situation
Correct.
at this time?
Yes. And by the way, you can do it instantaneously.
Right. But if you develop a habit that's a compulsion, you
Yes.
may not have any other choice.
Exactly.
We've talked about the Enneagram, which is a personality typing system, and that talks about different compulsions. Each type has a set of compulsions.
Yes.
And we could talk some more about that. We've talked about more of that in other
Shows.
other shows. Yeah. So why is programming so toxic? Well, it denies the soul. There's so much negative energy in the world that's attached to your essence. We don't seem to be able to see or trust our own essence. And
Right.
and the truth is that there is a lot of negative energy. So if you just switch gears, if you just say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to be a machine anymore.
Right.
I'm going to just operate from my essence. That probably wouldn't work either, because you have to deal with the negative energy that's already present.
Exactly. And so one of the reasons I'm going to jump in and do a really good plug for us, one of the things that's so amazing about the ecosystem approach is we start to remove negative energy. Yes, you can start a little bit at a time. And what happens is there's a clarity that happens.
Yes.
And the clarity is it becomes an understanding of who you are. And you can then actually have the choice. Do I like this about me or don't I? and you can remove things that you don't like. Now, some things take longer than others.
Well, and people might misunderstand that because
Okay.
it's not like you're choosing which traits you want and which traits you don't want. The truth is we have traits that that come naturally that are part of us.
Yes.
Some of those traits, if you don't like that trait, chances are it's got negative energy attached to it already,
That's a really good point.
and that you've been programmed in childhood that says, "Oh,
Yes.
you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not strong enough, you're not manly enough, you're not
Right.
feminine enough." All those things.
Right.
Here's the thing about when people program themselves. Last thing. When they choose, I'm going to choose this programming. We've had clients come to us, I want to be like this person,
Right.
this famous person. And they want to program themselves, mold themselves into that person. Well, if they're not that person, it's going to be like swimming upstream with a very, very hard current. When you try and choose who you are, your ego is disconnected from your essence, and it supports the lowest form of human emotions like selfishness and greed.
Right.
A healthy essence supports your ego to help you with um, um, aspirations and goals that are connected to who you are authentically.
Yes.
That's how your ego is supposed to work. And we see that, and we know that everybody could see that if they had a certain level of intuition.
Correct.
All that information is out there now.
Correct. Jason, what is the quick tip of this segment?
Traditional self-help is bad for you and can be very toxic. They typically treat people like a machine, which is at odds with the way we are designed. Many forms of self-help seek to program you or create positive habits, which can easily become compulsions. Compulsions take away free will and a human's ability to act in a way that is the most evolved. Programming from others, or even when the individual chooses to program in a particular way, is motivated by ego in the lowest form.
Right.
Self-help often leads to compulsions that take away free will. Self-help seeks to tell you how to you should be in the world versus uncovering who you are authentically and letting your essence say, "This is who I am."
Yes. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the alternative to programming yourself like a machine. Ooh, this is going to be fun. The alternative is seeing yourself like an ecosystem and why that is the best way to live. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the alternative to programming yourself like a machine. The alternative is seeing yourself like an ecosystem and why that is the best way to live. By the way, well said, Jason. All right, Jason, I know it's one of your biggest frustrations. Why does everyone seem to advocate for programming and treating themselves like a machine?
Well, the reason is because we don't know anything different.
It's been that way for so long.
It's been that way for so long.
Okay.
And
okay.
programming creates blocks to your essence, and pretty soon you become numb in that place.
Sure.
If you think of your essence as a place, you become numb about working, acting from your essence.
Okay.
And the other thing is that science, you can't look at your soul under a microscope. You can't measure your soul.
Okay.
And science doesn't like things that are ambiguous. It doesn't like things that
can't be proven with numbers.
Can't be proven with numbers. Can't be measured with a metric.
Or
all
touched,
these things.
that kind of thing. Sure, I understand that.
So, and I see that in the turn of the century, we started with the not this century, but the last century.
Yeah.
Machine age.
Sure.
So we said, well, if we create machines and make them more efficient, we can produce more goods and services.
Because the population was starting to get so large and so big all around the world.
Well, it's because people were making money from it.
Well, okay. I was going with what they
instead of going to a cobbler and having a pair of shoes made that would take 3 or 4 days.
At
You
least.
you could go to a factory and just crank them out,
Yes.
and they become cheaper, and it was an economic driver. But pretty soon they started to treat people that way. Say, okay, well, you can be more efficient if you do things this way. You can be more efficient
Right.
if you do things this way.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that per se.
Right.
We were just talking about, I used to live in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew so many people who worked in the factory. There was drug addiction, there was depression, they were bored.
Mm-hmm.
You said,
Well, and I was saying I lived really close to before I met you, I lived fairly close to Fremont, where and of course
General,
General Motors
yeah,
was, and I knew several people, especially that I went to school with. That's one of the very first places they went because the money was really, really good. And about once a month, I would hear through the grapevine or even talk to a person directly, and they would say that so and so at my job, they lost it on the line because they'd had enough of doing one thing over and over, that repetition thing. But also, drug and alcohol abuse was really big. But one of the biggest things that was actually talked about was the abuse of the person that worked at General Motors, the abuse that the family
it would create
received
abusive people
really created,
because of
they couldn't handle it of that repetition and the one thing, same thing over and over and over again.
and
No creativity.
for us, that's so obvious.
Yeah.
That's the reason that's so toxic to your mental
Yes.
health
Yes.
is because it's toxic programming, treating people like you're a machine
Yeah.
that you do repetition over and over again,
Right.
is not healthy.
No, not at all.
So
Not to mention the injuries, the physical injuries. I hadn't even thought about that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Recently, I came upon this idea about permaculture. Patricia's a big gardener, and this idea of permaculture is where you can use a method of growing which is basically in line with nature.
Mm-hmm.
And they have so many. If you look it up online, you Google it or something, you can see all these pictures of areas that were barren,
Yes.
barren land, and
That's
all of a
correct.
sudden they become like an oasis,
Yes.
full of
In the
food.
middle of a desert or in the middle
Yes.
of a place where things hadn't been growing or things had been destroyed.
In a way, we are doing permaculture for human beings.
Yeah.
Because if
I
you've
like
ever
that.
been pushed aside or considered someone who's a throwaway, or even
Mhm.
that you feel like you haven't lived up to the potential that you believe that you should,
Right.
accessing your essence is the way to really flourish.
It is.
Permaculture, they talk about food forests where they can feed everybody.
Correct.
There's a sufficient abundance for everybody, that nature, in a natural way, has enough for everybody. Now, of course, there's a political thing about that. And
Yeah,
you
we're
could,
not talking about that. Yeah.
yeah. But the idea is that a healthy ecosystem is sustainable.
Well, and one of the things I just thought about this. One of the things I actually last year I had this amazing, wonderful garden, and see, I was talking to somebody, and when I walked away, I would just like, oh, okay, I'm not feeling as good as I did a few minutes ago. One of the things I would do is I would actually take 5 minutes and go out and stand in the middle of my garden, and I would feel so much better because the energy in my garden was about life
Yes.
and growing and being able to give to someone that needs life and needs nutrition.
Our programming ourselves takes away the life from ourselves.
It really does.
So let's talk about what it is.
Okay.
What it would be like if you had a healthy ecosystem,
Oh, I like
or a
that.
healthy essence.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same.
Yes.
And what life would be like
Yeah.
if that happened.
Yeah.
First of all, it'd be completely sustainable.
Mhm.
The idea that you would ever have to motivate yourself is so so strange to a
Right.
healthy ecosystem, because it just is. You don't have to motivate it to do anything. It knows
Right.
what it is, who
That
it
is
is.
correct. That is correct.
If I'm talking about humans now, you would know who you are,
Mhm.
what you're here to do, and you would do it. You wouldn't have to motivate yourself. You would have to do it. Now, people say, "Well, I'm naturally lazy." I don't think that
I don't
anybody
agree.
is naturally lazy.
Mm-mm.
If you feel lazy, or if you've ever had that label pushed upon you, it's only because you don't know who you are. Your
And
essence is blocked.
your essence is blocked by negative energy that's blocking you from your creativity, your motivation, your your health, and even your happiness.
In this world today,
Yes.
if you can't be programmed, you
Yeah.
get pushed aside. I know when I was in the army, army story, warning, warning. Anyways, when I was in the army, I saw a lot of guys go through basic training
Mhm.
who couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle the structure of polishing your boots and
Mhm.
making your bed. And some of these guys were really smart. They just couldn't be regimented that way.
Okay.
And they some of them actually were removed from the army, and the shame of that, I can imagine how that would affect you for
Yes.
the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But so you never have to, if you have a healthy essence and ecosystem, you never have to try and believe in yourself.
Right.
You just do.
It's
That's
pretty
the way it's
awesome.
supposed to be.
It's
That,
pretty awesome.
you never need to figure out the right time. Timing happens in a natural way.
Right.
You know, you see all these love stories about wrong time, wrong place.
Sure.
Chances are you just naturally gravitate toward the right time and the right place. Addiction, suicides, depression, that seems that is so toxic. That is a reflection of a very unhealthy ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Disease and illness. There's a lot of disease and illness that we have today that
Mhm.
would never happen
Correct.
with healthy ecosystems.
Right.
And the universe is organized to support a healthy ecosystem.
Correct.
It's you have a lot of additional power that you have access to
Yeah.
if you're in harmony with, first of all, yourself,
Yes.
and then with those things around you. Now, our world today is kind of perverted, and it's not that clean and simple.
Not anymore.
But I gave those examples because
Okay.
people don't understand what a healthy ecosystem is anymore.
No, they don't.
We've forgotten. We're numb to it. It's just so way out there.
Yeah. Okay. So I have another question. So if we have a healthy ecosystem, Jason,
hmm
talk about that just a little bit.
Well,
The importance of it, of course.
well, physically, if we're
Okay.
physically healthy, we would naturally gravitate toward healthy food.
Correct.
We eat. Some person recently said we eat weird, and
Yes.
it's only because you look at the groceries when we go through the grocery line. There's all these fresh vegetables, and
fruit.
then there's no junk food.
No.
There's none of that, and compared to other people,
Mhm.
it's strange. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yes. it is.
And we've had a lot of comments made to us because of that.
Yes.
And we're not obsessive about it. We haven't, it's been so long since we went to a fast food place. I mean, it's been years,
Yeah, it has.
and so we just gravitated. We don't have to force ourselves to do
No.
that. It's just like, what do you want to eat? Well, we don't want to eat junk. We want to eat good stuff.
Right. Well, and the one of the things that I see that unhealthy food does, I'll put it that way, fast food and really processed food, it helps reinforce that negative energy that's around your essence. It's just another
Yes.
way to say you can't have and you can't be the best that you want to be.
Well, exactly. Another thing, and we see this around us because we live in an area where there's a lot of retired people around that are our age. We're not
Yes.
retired. We'll
We don't
never
plan on
retire.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they get lazy about walking or exercising or going outside or
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
and
Right.
and frankly, it's natural for the human body to want to move and to feel fresh air and
Yes.
to be outside.
Right.
It's natural.
Yes. Well, and I have to admit, we have two dogs that really demand that we
Because it's natural for them
it
too.
is natural for them as well, and it's so nice. And but we've had people say, "You guys, I mean, you're out there continuously." Yeah, we are. It feels good to us. We know it feels good to our dogs, and we also know it's in our best interest.
We have all these people around us who struggle to take care of themselves.
Oh, they do.
And
Sad.
when your essence and your ecosystem is healthy,
Yeah.
you want to take care of yourself.
Yes, exactly. So, Jason, what is the quick tip for this segment?
The machine age started the idea of making humans more efficient like machines,
Right.
but we were already disconnected from our essence. So no one said we can train people to be more efficient, but should we train them to be that way?
Yes.
Most self-help would be completely unnecessary if people had a healthy ecosystem that was connected to their essence. Physical, mental, and emotional health would come naturally, and needing to motivate yourself or needing to eat and exercise in a healthy way would seem weird because, of course, we do all those things naturally.
Exactly. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to improve yourself and help yourself evolve in a way that is more natural and in line with who you are authentically. Wow. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to improve yourself and to help yourself evolve in a way that is more natural. I love that part, and in line with who you are authentically. You know, there's nothing better than being authentic, especially with yourself, Jason. I know that wasn't in the script, but I just wanted to put that out there.
The truth is that we've been doing this for so long. One of my biggest regrets, I did the self-help thing with the NLP and
Right.
positive mental attitude.
Right.
I have a whole long list that I've written out. There must be 30, 40 different things. It doesn't stay with you,
Oh,
but now as I've been doing the ecosystem approach, we've been doing this for like 25 years.
yes,
I just want to do it more every day. We get up and we
Yeah.
want to do some more.
we do. And we do, by the way.
And
Yeah.
we're always working with each other, clearing and,
Yes, yes.
and removing negative energy.
And we're going to talk about how to clear in a few minutes.
Yes, exactly. And it's my biggest regret is that I wasted so much time with the self-help that wasn't natural to me.
Time and money.
Yes,
Yeah.
time and money,
Yes.
where I could have been working on myself. Yeah, we've been doing this for 25 years. I think a lot of times, oh my gosh, if I had another 10 years,
Yeah.
another 20 years that I was doing this when I was younger. And
Wow, where
and
I'd be.
I know that we're both in our 70s, and
Thanks
Yes.
for letting everybody know that, Jason.
yeah,
Thanks.
it's happy to do that. But we expect to live a very full, vital life
Yes.
with complete command of our physical bodies, because it's natural for us to do that.
It is.
It
is. Yes.
We exercise a lot, but it's not that. It's just the most important thing that helps you with aging is being connected to your essence.
That's correct.
And your purpose. That's where
Yes.
your purpose resides.
Exactly.
And if you're expressing your purpose every day, it's the most healthy thing you can do.
And you can't go wrong with that. It's so amazing.
I think about the clients that we have that are in their 20s or younger,
and we do.
what the possibility they have to be to
Oh,
work with energy for 60 years or
and
70 years.
not only be the possibilities, not only for them, but what they can help the world do.
Yes.
I think that is just, and I realize that my my goal here is to help somebody every single day do something amazing for themselves.
Exactly.
That's my goal. So, Jason, let's talk about
Well, here's the other thing that we have to talk about.
okay.
You can't just switch cold turkey. And it's
Okay.
I'd like to say that you don't have to do
Wouldn't that be
programming
great?
anymore. You can just do the ecosystem approach and do that starting today, and everything's going to be fine. It's not. It takes a while. It needs a transition program.
Well,
Process.
that's correct.
And it's because we don't know how to do it the ecosystem approach way. We only know how to do it the programmed way.
That's correct.
So there's going to be some overlap and some, and that's for you to decide as you go through this.
Because we're all different.
We're all different. And part of the ecosystem approach is not to have one size fits all, but
Right.
to say, okay, let's see who you are first, and then let your essence tell you how you should go from here.
And it's the most awesome thing is when you start to hear or understand what your essence is telling you. And how you do that is by using the ecosystem
Exactly.
approach. So, Jason, you have
I
few
created
things.
7 steps, and
There you go.
I don't like to do formulas.
I know you
I've
don't.
I've said that before because formula kind of boxes you in.
Sure.
But if you were to get started today,
Okay.
here's how you do it. You remove the negative energy around the issues that you have right now.
Okay.
Is it a relationship issue? Is it a money issue? Is it a
Mhm.
health issue?
Correct.
Um,
Is it all of those
is
issues?
it all of those issues?
Right.
What's the most important?
Correct.
You don't have to choose just one. You can do two at a time or
Well, because
whatever.
most of us are multitasking anyway.
And in just a minute, we're going to show you how to remove negative energy.
Correct.
And but that's the first thing. Just start where you are.
Okay.
The second one is focus as much time uncovering who you are versus trying to attain your goals.
Correct.
A lot of people do this backwards, where they determine their goal before they know who they are.
Right.
Actually, um, I've been married, choosing someone to marry before I knew who I was, and that
And
didn't
excuse me, and
it
how?
wasn't you, sweetie. It wasn't. Yeah, she's the love of my life, but it wasn't her, And
And I was going to say, how'd that work out for you, Jason?
when you choose a partner without knowing who you are,
Oh,
it's just it. You don't realize until
it
you're too late.
boomerangs
Yes,
on you is the best
exactly.
way for, well, and you know what? I want to, if you don't know who you are right now, think, well, I have no idea who I am. First off, the ecosystem approach, because when you start removing the negative energies that are covering you up of who you are, and you start to see who you are, you go, oh my gosh, what I could do with that.
Yes.
And that's pretty darn cool. I will say it that way. And the other thing is that when you start to figure out who you are, sure, you're going to question, oh, is this right? Is this wrong? But before, you weren't questioning a thing.
Well,
You were
and
just doing the program thing.
for those of you that are listening, and I can just feel it, where you've been trained in childhood that
Mhm.
who you are isn't right, isn't good enough, isn't the way it's supposed to be. It may take you a little longer,
Right.
but it still works. It's still, as you remove the negative energy, that feeling that you're not good enough is negative energy, and it can be cleared.
Well, and I realize we're taking time with this, but one of the most important things I discovered, I mean, I've always known that I've had intuition, and but I was also told I shouldn't use it. And but when I started to uncover myself, I realized not only do I have this ability to have intuition, not only read myself, but read others, but that I could do some amazing things in that understanding and help others with that. And before, I was told I had no value
Yeah.
in anything.
Yes. So, so focus as much time on uncovering yourself versus trying to attain your goals. That's
Correct.
2. 3, start to see the world as energy and what energies
it's a
are
big deal.
blocking you
Mhm.
and what are supporting you. So if you can see what's blocking you and see it as an energy,
Yes.
then it can be removed. And we're going to show you this in just a second
Yes,
here.
we are.
So that's really, really positive. And switch from focusing on plans and goals to seeing energies around you can be very instructive.
Yes.
So number 4, determine your Enneagram type. And that's a personality typing system that tells you what your compulsions are. The Enneagram, we see the Enneagram as a personality typing system that helps you see the negative energy that's attached to your essence.
Correct.
And that's your personality type.
Yep.
So if you see that, for example, we use that to say, okay, we've been working with you, from both of us actually. Our Enneagram type doesn't suit who we are authentically.
No.
And now that we've removed so much energy, we start to say, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I was this way all my life, but that wasn't who I was,
exactly.
who I am. So, 5, get your astrology natal chart. That's what we use to kind of be your North Star to guide you about who you are authentically.
Correct.
And it's good for your life plans and to start to guide you before you can have that internal voice that says, okay, go this way or do
Right.
this or whatever.
Okay.
And then 6, listen to the show every week. We teach you about energy every single week
Correct.
from a different perspective.
Mhm.
We include clearings in the 4th segment. And after a while, you'll just get the hang of it. And then the most important thing is sign up for our free section
Correct.
on our website, theecosystemapproach.org. And there's a free section. You sign up for our free section, you get our a weekly clearing list and newsletter
Mhm.
that's
And
connected
he's
to
always
the,
making fun of me.
yes, that's
So-
connected to the topic of the day. Yeah.
All right, Jason, let's do the quick tip and then let's talk about how we're gonna
Okay.
how to teach everyone how to do the clearing.
We don't suggest you make a complete switch from programming self-help to using the ecosystem approach. Start by focusing on the issues and challenges you have now.
Mhm.
Then work with the ecosystem approach. The benefits that are when you work with the ecosystem approach, the benefits are cumulative and increase over time. Here are the 7 steps. Remove the negative energies around the issues you have. Focus as much time on covering who you are versus trying to attain your goals. 3, start to see the world as energy and what energies are blocking you. 4, determine your enneagram type. 5, get your astrology natal chart. 6, listen to the show every week. 7, sign up for a free section.
Exactly. And by the way, you'll be well on your way, and that's amazing. So Jason's gonna tell us how to do the clearing or removing negative energy, and then we'll take a short break, and then
And I know Moxie's going to put up the picture of the processor right
Yes.
now. So it's very simple. You use most of it. You do it in your imagination.
Mhm.
So when we say and to eliminate in your imagination, imagine gathering up what we say to eliminate: veils and illusions, barriers, specific emotions,
Correct.
and just gather them up and then blow them gently. Take a gentle breath, blow them into that processor, and just picture that processor in your mind.
Exactly.
Blow it into that. If you don't have if you can't, if you're just listening right now, you're not seeing this on video. Just imagine a trash can, and we'll
Exactly.
empty that trash can.
Exactly. And the reason that we use the processor/trash can is because you're doing all this work, you're removing this negative energy. That negative energy needs to go somewhere. You put it in the top of the trash can or the processor, and if you're using the processor, it gets processed. And because there's like a radiator on the processor, and it gets processed through all those little spaces, and it comes out neutral. And just doing that alone is so good, not only for you, but for our entire planet, because we're changing negative into neutral, and then we can change it into positive.
Yeah.
So, with that said, stay tuned when we come back. We're going to help you get started treating yourself as an ecosystem. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you get started treating yourself as an ecosystem, because that's exactly who you are. If you're ready, Jason, take it away.
Here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that most self-help is toxic and disconnects you from your essence.
So nice and easy. What you're going to do is you're going to pull the negative energies up from the tips of
The
your
veils and
toes.
illusions.
Veils and illusions, and you're going to throw them away. I like to throw things away to the left. That's how I see it. Doesn't mean you have to, but that's how I see it. It's easier. I see that the negative energy moves easier to the left. Take one more breath on that. Veils and illusions, and throw it away. Those veils and illusions are toxic. Here's some more. And I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that compulsive behaviors called habits can and probably are toxic to you, from the tips of your toes, and throw them away. Throw them into that processor or garbage can, Jason.
And to eliminate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm that I have right now.
Nice.
Gather up that stress and anxiety and overwhelm, blow it into
Throw
the
it away.
processor.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that self-help discards essence and says, we know better. And the answer is, Jason?
No.
Very good. All right,
No.
pick it up. Throw it away.
Doesn't know better than your essence.
Exactly.
And to eliminate any need I have to be like someone else doing self-help,
Yeah.
rather being me authentically is always best.
Yes. Take a breath. and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that using the ecosystem approach builds on itself. And the longer I do it, the more I want and the more satisfying it becomes for my life. Take a breath and blow out any negative energies. That's the barriers.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see programming doesn't last and requires constant effort.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And blow it out. And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress that I have because I am disconnected from my own essence. You don't need that. It's okay to connect with your essence. Take a breath, intense feelings. Throw them away.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that a healthy essence creates the positive attributes naturally that self-help pushes you to have.
Yes, take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that a healthy human ecosystem never needs to be motivated. Take a nice breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that goals and aspirations that come from a healthy essence create a natural motivation and perseverance.
Yes, take a breath. You know, once I had just a small taste of removing negative energy, it was motive enough for me. I could not stop.
Yes.
And I've been at it for 25 years.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. So, and to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that a healthy essence takes care of itself. Wow. Craves a good diet and wants to exercise and wants to take care of itself. Nice and easy as it was intended. Take a breath and blow out anything that's blocking you. Jason?
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that a healthy essence attracts positive relationships and is attractive to others.
Very nice. Take a breath. Jason, we ready for some life force?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Follow along, everyone. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force so I can use life force. By the way, the most powerful energy that anyone has access to. This life force, it's around us everywhere we go, all the time. So I activate that life force. I'm going to pull it in through the top of my head, and I'm going to let it go all the way down to the tips of my toes. I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to ask it to turn around and pick up negative energy, more negative energy, and get rid of that negative energy so I can be the best of me. Blow it out. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to have a healthy ecosystem and essence that I use to have a great life.
Take a breath. Pull it in and blow it out. And to activate life force so I can trust my essence is the best self-help guru for me. Pull it in and blow it out.
And to activate life force so I can decide to focus on my essence and removing the toxins from my ecosystem.
Nice. Pull it in and blow it out. Last one, Jason. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, have laughter and love and fun, be objective, have clarity and courage and confidence about who I am, and really enjoy the journey of using the ecosystem approach starting right now today for me. Pull it in, tips of your toes, turn it around, get rid of negative energy that's blocking you from that request. Just to be happy alone. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
This is something we've never done before.
Okay.
It's really kind of out there, but promises, vows, curses, contracts, and plain old obligations.
Oh my.
And, you know, as we get more and more advanced, we continue to clear ourselves first.
Yes.
And then we're still working with other clients.
Correct.
We see these literally these curses,
Exactly.
you know, and that sounds very witchcrafty and it's not meant to be, but there's energy. So when Gone with the Wind,
okay.
when she said, as God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again.
That's correct.
That was a curse, a vow.
That way, actually,
It was a vow. I guess it was called a vow.
yes, it was.
You know, I know that um, um, there was, people have these vows in marriage,
Yes.
but they have no idea who they are.
And so, how do you know what you're going to feel or
Exactly.
be in a few years? And
How can you make that promise
and-
without knowing?
exactly, and it's not an easy thing to do.
You may not
Yes.
know the future, but if you know who you are, you know
Yes.
that, and once you know who you are, you also see who the other person is much more clearly.
Exactly. And not only your motives, but their motives.
Yeah.
And that's really I guarantee you're gonna go, oh, okay. So that's, if you think about it. And the other thing is that I have seen cultures that actually have curses on them. And well, here's one, and it's not a culture. I see that women have accepted the curse of being second or second rate. And yes, of course, there's at least one in every crowd who just becomes just ragingly, mad about that. Well, if we all started removing our own personal curses, we could do a whole lot more as women, not only individually, but together, to make this earth a better place.
We have so many clients that we work with on a regular basis who we're helping them remove the curse
Yes.
that came from their childhood, from
Yes.
their family.
Yes.
And you're one of them.
I am one of them,
So
by all
so
means.
so this you got to listen to this show. It's pretty big. So
Yes.
So if something today really touched your heart
Nice.
and you're thinking about something that you've never considered before, go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org,
Mhm.
and sign up for our free section. You'll get the weekly list of clearings. It's all written out, what you have to say.
Mhm.
The picture of the processor is there, and we
Right.
have a little bit of a couple paragraphs about the show that we did that week.
Right. And I'm going to just say this. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Jason, talk about Facebook for just a moment.
Our Facebook address is theecosystemapproach.org. Go to our Facebook page. We have all the videos there, and you
Right.
can, if you would like us while you're there, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. All right. We will connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.